Good morning, everybody. Make sure we're working here. Good morning, everyone. I want to go and let you know that we are going to allow for public comment on the bill that we're going to be hearing today from Representative Corbett. The sign-up sheet is right up front on the front left. So if you haven't signed up and you want to sign up, I welcome you to come do so. I'm going to give everybody about maybe 1 minute. I don't see folks jumping and rushing, so I think we're probably okay. But if something happens and you think, oh, I should have spoken, raise your hand and I'll do my best to acknowledge. Okay. With that, we will be getting started here. I would like to ask Representative LaRicchia if he would open us up in a word of prayer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, God, we love you. Thank you for this beautiful day, God. We would agree that there's not much more important in this state than the education of our children and the future generations. We're thankful for all of those that have invested their lives into young people and the education for their future. Just guide and direct us in all that we do. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Well, I want to officially call our Academic Support Subcommittee meeting to order. We do have a quorum. I appreciate the members being here today. Today, we're going to be on the agenda. We have one bill. It's House Bill 1295. And at this time, I will turn it over to Representative Corbett. And let me make sure you good. And if you will make sure that we know which LC number, if you'll read that for the committee, and then we can let you take over.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's House Bill 1295, LC 490813.
All right. That is what I have. All members good? All right. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Again, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm bringing before you House Bill 1295. Basically, the education, teacher shortage, it's no different than any other business or government agency. Everybody's having trouble retaining employees right now, but the COVID just exacerbated that problem. But, in the teaching profession, that it didn't just start with COVID. It's been going on for a long time. 47% of the teachers that enter the teaching profession will leave within the first 5 years. So what we're trying to do here is hopefully address some of those issues where we can get some of these younger teachers the professional development that they need to try to retain them and have good student outcomes, but also be able to develop those teachers into highly effective teachers. So I'll go through the bill and explain that. Now in section 1 of the bill, lines 21 and 26. We remove the language or needs improvement. The current problem is that teachers, particularly new teachers, often need assistance to become better, but districts don't want to give needs improvement because it ends, a lot of times it ends the career of a teacher when they do that. Districts instead give a proficiency rating, and the teacher may never get the professional development that they need. Removing the stigma of the term needs development will encourage districts and schools to provide more accurate evaluations and necessary development and support to teachers in this category. So that's what we're doing in section 1. In section 2 of the bill, House Bill 1295, it also adds a new code section. It authorizes the Georgia Department of Education to design and implement a pilot program. It's an alternative teacher evaluation system. This pilot program would be designed to provide embedded supports, professional development, recognition, and advancement of highly effective teachers with built-in pathways for each development of each level of progression. The current evaluation system is more punitive in nature rather than helpful to providing teachers what they need to become better teachers. We believe this model will help to better retain effective teachers, keeps our best teachers in the classroom. It utilizes the expertise of these teachers to mentor and support other teachers in the school and districts. This new code section will allow participating districts, no more than 10, to waive current teacher evaluation requirements during the timeline allowed for the pilot, no more than 5 years, is what we're doing in section 2. And in section 3, on line 92, we're removing the needs development rating from the group performance evaluation rate, which may adversely affect the educator's ability to obtain a year of credible service on the state's minimum salary schedule. So, that's basically what we're doing with the bill. I'll stand for questions, and it's also, well, let me add this. It's we've worked with Superintendent Richard Woods on this as well, and the Georgia Department of Education is supportive of this issue, and it's a legislative priority for Superintendent Woods as well.
Okay. All right, we've got a question from the floor. Just want to make sure you covered all the initial introductions and you're ready for questions, right?
Yes.
All right, we'll start with the committee members and then based on that dialogue, then I'll open it up for public comment. Chairman Dubin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Corbett, this is probably well known to everybody in the room except me. So when I ask this, y'all can laugh at me. Start on line 42. We talk about 10 local school systems, and then down on lines 46 and 47, we use urban, suburban, and rural. Are those defined by our own statutes or those defined by the DOE? How are those determinations made?
I'm not sure. We got several different definitions of rural in statute. I would defer to, if I could get Matt Cardoza.
Yeah, come on, join Representative Corbett at the table if you don't mind. I appreciate the question. I had a couple of folks call me this morning and just sort of a similar, like, who picks? Is it my opinion that we're rural or, you know?
It can be.
Yeah, but go ahead.
No, there's a lot of federal definitions around rural, urban, all kinds of requirements that we have to meet that for a bill like this would fit into those definitions.
those would
Similar
be-
to,
They'd be clearly defined. And
That's
we're,
right.
we're not creating anything new.
that's right.
And these, and just to confirm, those definitions as they relate to this bill would be directly in line and no different than any other statutes or declarations where you would follow these same definitions, correct?
That's right.
So it's not creating anything new or changing anything that's in existence.
That's right.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee members? All right. Representative Evans.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes. So could you walk us through what the details are for the teacher evaluation? I'm just looking at the bill for my first time. Yeah.
Yeah, the teacher evaluation right now it's a teach. This will be an alternative evaluation system, and it will be developed by the Georgia Department of Education. We'll develop that evaluation system. That's what this allowing the new code section to do that. They will come up with an alternative system, and that's not in the bill. It just allows them to come up with a system 5.
Okay. And where does it just say that? Where just the line where it says that the DOE will create the teacher evaluation?
I think it's on line 35 where it says, design and implement a pilot program evaluation alternative to the current evaluation system. And then it talks about who qualifies up to 10, rural, suburban, urban.
Mm-hmm.
That answer your question? Okay. Any other questions, Representative Evans? And I'm happy to come back to you if you want to, as you continue to read through it.
I'm sorry. Yeah. And I think, and then I just would hope that I'm sure GA would do this, but it include educators, as they're creating the system, that they would include educators in creating that new evaluation.
And the teacher organizations are there in support of this. And I think they will be speaking to the bill. So
Okay.
they are in support of this
Okay.
as well.
Thank you.
And I want to ask this clarifying question, and I want to make sure I understand. So in section 1, where we're striking or needs development, that means that would be struck from all existing Teagues assessments or only as it relates to the new pilot program?
No, it's removing it from all in
Okay.
this section, the way it reads. But no, you still have the ineffective or unsatisfactory, that rating is still available. You're not taking that away. If you got a teacher that, absolutely done something egregious or illegal, they definitely, that's still available. But this
Okay.
is to give those teachers that might need some professional development, removing that stigma of getting a needs improvement.
Okay, so just to clarify, since the language does not include, and I'm happy because I'll be honest with you, I know there are several items that are on the Teagues, but I don't know that I can tell you in which order of severity or benefit. What will remain as the mechanisms for a administrator to do a class observation, go through the assessment process? What will the selection options be? I know it'll be too unsatisfactory or ineffective. We're removing needs of development. What remains intact? And Matt, if you need to come forward, just clarify, that's fine.
And if I done my research, right, and Matt can, this is a list here, and I think we might retain.
So much of the process part of Teagues would be in place. That wouldn't change. The needs development and effective, your effective distinguished wouldn't, the process part to get to those would not change. It's the removing one of those labels of those four that we currently have. So the process wise of Teagues that, and we'll say many like the process of a lot of the Teagues process. It's the rating systems that
So it would be narrowed to satisfactory, ineffective, or unsatisfactory. So there would not be a needs improvement. Okay. All right. And I will say this is a opinion. For me as a person in the professional world in my career, we've gone through assessments and we have needs improvement. And it's delivered generally early on in my profession where, hey, if you're doing the job, like that's satisfactory. If you're going above and beyond, then you would even have an opportunity for exemplary. And then, hey, you know what? We might need to work on this area. A lot of new teachers, what I've heard from some educators is this, that a lot of new teachers are great and exemplary as it relates to content, but sometimes classroom management and handling behavior issues, they're new, right? They're dealing with kids for the first time. That might be one area that a needs improvement is a softer message to put in place a professional development plan and not necessarily go as far as saying ineffective. So I just want to understand, ultimately, I need to be convinced that removing an opportunity for a principal to put needs improvement when their professional and academic opinion is that teacher needs improvement, right? That they're not technically ineffective. And I just want to understand, is that really what's been driving teachers to leave within the first 5 years? Is that the assessment of the department?
So part of what you said there is exactly the issue. We agree that there needs to be something about needs development. We know, particularly with new teachers, that they do need some development. It might be classroom management, maybe whatever. The problem has become when a principal gives that needs development, if they get 2 of those within 5 years, essentially their career could be over because their certification gets pulled. So what we want to do through the pilot is do what you're saying, make it to where needs development is actually they're getting the things that they need to become a better teacher, not punitive in nature to where their career may be over if they get 2 of those.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I'll go to Representative Evans for another question.
All right, I had one simple question, but now I want to just ask for clarification. So first of all, what is Teagues? Can you just remind me what that stands for, please?
Sure. The teacher keys effectiveness system. It's the evaluation system for teachers.
So that's what we're looking at creating the alternate for. Yeah. And then I guess now I'm confused. I thought I understood about needs development, but now I'm not quite sure. So you're saying you're striking it from here, but a principal would still have the ability to assign needs development to a teacher and then put them in the alternative program? Like what kind of category do they get if they get to be put in the alternative program?
So the alternative program we're talking about, I think, is an overall pilot system. So if your school district was piloting the new one, then needs development, unless that became part of the new pilot, would not be part of it. So if your district was on Teagues still, then what we're asking is that needs development be removed. But again, if your district is piloting one, then it would be different than the needs development distinguished. We could have those same terms if everybody, to your point, educators come together and develop one, but needs development would only be if they're still in Teagues. A pilot system would be if one of those 10 districts chose to become.
So if they're not in the pilot, needs development goes away.
That's right.
Okay. And then I guess, so if needs development goes away, then if they're not in the pilot, what does a principal do if they do have a teacher that needs some help?
Well, there's still the ineffective. So if there's truly an issue, they
Mhm.
can exit the school with the ineffective. If they need the development part, that's the trouble we're having right now with needs development is they can do. Now, let me say this clearly, many districts do a very good job of providing development for their teachers. They just may give them the effective rating rather than the one that might make more sense, which is needs development. But when they give needs development, it could end the certification.
So is unsatisfactory also an option?
Yes.
Okay, so they could do unsatisfactory and then get them training even if they aren't on the pilot
That's right. But
program.
if they got 2 of those in 5 years, then their certification would be.
So unsatisfactory and needs development, if a teacher gets 2 unsatisfactory or 2 needs development, their career ends
That's right. In 5 years.
in 5 years.
Representatives, let me, I want to do one thing. So I think,
Okay.
because Legislative Counsel Michael Walker and I've spent so much time, he's starting to read my mind. I'm going to ask him to make a statement that I think will clear up where my confusion is and the distinction that will be very important. And I think we'll be ready for public comment. So what number are you? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I can, section 1 of the bill in its current form deals specifically with the renewal certificates that the PSC can issue. So what this bill is doing in section 1 is limited to taking the needs development category out of the equation for the Professional Standards Commission's decision to issue a renewable certificate. So in other words, this bill is not removing the needs development category out of Teagues altogether. It is simply saying that an educator who gets a needs development in this previous 5 years, that would not disqualify them from a renewable certificate.
That makes me feel much more comfortable. Thank you for that clarification. Like I said, he's now not only a great law writer, but he also reads minds. So I appreciate that. All right. I think any other questions from committee members? If not, I'm gonna, what you got here? Oh, we've got Doreen. She's on. Okay. 1 second. She wants to speak. Okay. All right. She wants to speak to the bill. So that'll be fine. All right. Well, this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask our first speaker, Representative Larikia, to come into the mic. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to limit everybody initially. I'll say 2.5 minutes. If that's not enough time, we can come back and discuss that. But if that sounds good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not on this subcommittee, but I did want to come and listen. And after hearing the conversations about this and what the Department of Education and Superintendent Woods is trying to do, this is my 8th year on the Education Committee, and every year we have worked really hard to try to on recruitment and retention of teachers. And these school systems continue to struggle in that area to recruit and retain good teachers. I know that Governor Kemp has invested a tremendous amount of money in historic teacher pay raises as one of the tools in the toolbox. And this is just another one of those tools, thanks to Chairman Dubnik and others that have worked hard, and just wanted to remind everybody what this is really about. It is to come on board with professional development of new educators that may be overwhelmed in those first few years because of the amount of student teaching, the limited amount of student teaching or practicum that they may have had. And this offers some opportunities for highly effective teachers and more experienced teachers to partner with them, and reminding that it's a pilot program. And what it is to do is to just take an opportunity to look at up to 10 school systems that participate and figure out a way to make it more appealing and more friendly for these new teachers, and offer my support for this. Thank you for the opportunity for just a quick public comment.
Thank you very much, Representative Lurick. I appreciate that input. All right, next up, I'm going to call on, we have another representative that is on our full education committee, but they would like to make a comment and possibly ask one question. So we're going to turn to Representative Doreen Carter, if she could, can you connect her? All right. Representative.
Good morning and thank you. As I'm listening and I'm like all of you, we want to do everything that we can to retain great teachers and support teachers that potentially have greatness, right? So my question is, and I hear you saying that if they get 2 violations within that 5 years, but my question is, what training, or do we need to develop additional training to help new teachers with the classroom management? Because I mean, I know that that's a huge concern, but I would hate for someone to lose their certificate that has the potential, but just don't have the resources to help them be better. So that's kind of my question and my thought.
All right, I appreciate that. I think that would be a separate, a very valid point. I want to clarify that, but I think possibly through this pilot program that might reveal opportunities through the needs development or coming back with a recommendation that may provide some insight as it relates to that or other things that are revealed during the pilot program. Is that the intent of the bill and the opportunity? Okay. Thank you for that comment and that question, Representative Carter. Now I'm going to open it up to our next speakers. I'm going to take them in order of their signing up. First, we have Lisa Morgan from GAE. And you think 2.5 minutes is enough time?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
as a classroom teacher who has been evaluated by Teacher Keys, I could spend 2.5 hours talking about this subject.
Amen.
I am Lisa Morgan. I am a kindergarten teacher and the current president of the Georgia Association of Educators. I was confused during this as well, but I think what I understand is this bill is going to remove the adverse action when a teacher has a summative rating of needs development. And that is what we want to do. Because Teacher Keys, we're evaluated on 10 standards. A teacher can be rated proficient in 6 out of 10 and have needs development, particularly if they are teaching in a school such as I did. Every year, the academic growth in my school, I was teaching kindergarten, the academic growth measure was 3rd through 5th grade test scores. And so I got needs development in academic improvement, despite the fact that my kindergartners, many of whom came and did not know a single letter, the vast majority left my kindergarten classroom reading and writing sentences. But my rating for student growth was based on the school score. So there are issues with Teacher Keys, and we would like to see a pilot. I would suggest that we be truly innovative in this pilot and that we work with classroom educators and bring educators who are in the classroom in to develop this pilot program. Nobody wants to help first-year teachers more than those of us who are in the classroom right now. And I can tell you, it has been my experience on more than one occasion that the custodian would come to my classroom and say, Miss Morgan, Miss Murphy down the hall sitting in her classroom crying again. Can you go talk to her? And I would. The first year of teaching is hard. The second year of teaching is hard. So we do want to do something to improve the evaluation system. So let's be innovative. Let's collaboratively design it. And let's use measures of student growth that truly reflect the growth our students make while they're in our classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your input. All right. Next up, we've got, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing this right. Josh Stevens, is that correct? All right. And Josh is with Paige.
Sorry, I didn't do well in the handwriting portion of my
No.
my education career.
Hey, you could have been a doctor. It's
That's
okay.
right, I
It's
could,
all
yeah.
right.
So I'm Josh Simmons. I'm with the Professional Association of Georgia Educators. We represent around 95,000 classroom teachers, administrators, anyone that works in the school system. We represent them. We appreciate Representative Corbett bringing this bill forward to create this pilot that would do 2 things in our eyes. Not only will it provide the support that these new teachers and other teachers that might be receiving needs improvement ratings, it takes let me separate that out. So there's two parts to this I want to speak of. I'm going to speak on the needs improvement first. We're appreciative of delinking needs improvement from losing certification. And we actually would argue that we may need to consider looking at ineffective as well in order to start thinking about how we can start providing the same types of supports to some of those folks. Obviously, that's a different conversation for a different bill, but I just wanted to put that out there. As far as the pilot, it's a great opportunity to help with the teacher retention issue. It will provide the support that those teachers are going to need to help get past receiving an ineffective or a needs improvement type rating, whatever is developed in the pilot system. And at the same time, it empowers teachers that are performing well to become leaders within their school and amongst their peers. And we see this as a great opportunity to highlight some of those really great teachers and help teach some of these new teachers how to be better at classroom management and things along those lines. So thank you for your time. We hope that you all favorably consider this bill.
All right, thank you very much for your input. I appreciate that. And last but certainly not least, we have Michael O'Sullivan from Georgia Can.
Thank you very much. The conversation today was enlightening, particularly around the needs improvement rating. We would argue that it's incredibly important to keep that as part of a cumulative effort to evaluate teachers, and removing the stigma, as the author had said, if it encourages more teachers to be accurately rated, that would be an improvement. I would suffice to say, our concern with the way the current evaluation system is currently working is that teachers are misevaluated, moved up into the system, 90+% being put in proficient, because that's the easiest avenue to be placed where they might actually need improvement. And so I would hope this change balances out the evaluation tiers so that we can more accurately identify teachers. The pilot, I'd be curious, in 2020, this legislature passed legislation to remove or lower student growth from 50% to 30% and put in professional development as 20%, essentially what this pilot is proposing to do as currently part of the evaluation system. So utilizing, throwing away the rest of the current evaluation system, I'd caution, even though I appreciate the overall integrity, the overall hope of what the author intends.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate your input. Yeah, I want to make one question, then open it up for the author of the bill to share any other comments. One of the things that, as a former school board member and a spouse to an educator, I hope that the pilot program, should this continue on and this bill become a law, that we also include the ability for school systems to have efficacy in the administration of Teagues, so that if you're a teacher working in a North Georgia school, a South Georgia school, that people are assessing teachers in the same manner and have a good application as to what is the difference between needs improvement and ineffective. And I've had it presented by a former superintendent to me this way. There are a lot of areas in education where in those first 3 to 5 years, it's obvious that it needs improvement. But if that trend continues in that 6th and 7th and 8th year, then it becomes ineffective. Does that make sense? The pilot program will not prevent that type of an analysis, correct? That's part of the reason to do it, is to come up with a better, more consistent across the state. Is that the true? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I do have one question from Representative Jaspers, and then we'll turn it back over to the bill presenter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess it's for Assistant Superintendent. Mainly questions for you. You want to move back up? This is about the pilot program. I missed it. I'm sorry, just the very first of it. Now, are you guys, DOE, going to fund this?
So there would be some cost to it, but not not a lot of cost. So the development part of it would be, the cost could be bringing the teachers together, the collaboration there, but the development itself would be in-house staff working with others.
And I guess the creation of the pilot, that's going to be on you. I guess my question was, are you going to allow 10 different ideas to evolve? Because you got 10 different school systems, so that will allow innovation. Are you going to be prescriptive in what they should do, or are you going to allow innovation?
I'm not sure I can speak to the actual pilot just yet, but I think we're very open to having the innovative model where it's not just one particular one for all 10, that if they want to differentiate, figure out what's best, then we could do that. And part of that's going to be bringing everybody together, educators in particular together, to figure out what's really lacking with the current process, and then what they think might need to be tried. And if after that they come up with 3 or 4 different things, then that might be the best way to do it, is to have 3 or 4 different ways going at the same time.
I just think the innovation is what I think this really needs. And then I think too, just from my past experience in this, that there is an opportunity to look back at college training that the teacher, especially a first, second, third year teacher, received, and see what's lacking there in the preparation for them of being that first year teacher. And that's the underlying issue that nobody wants to talk about.
Right. And a major component that we know would be part of a pilot, regardless of if it was 10 different ones. I think the underlying would be mentorship, ensuring that those first year teachers have someone alongside them, because as we heard how difficult it is in that first year, and you probably know how tough that is in the first couple of years, making sure that they have somebody who is there, to be able to pull them along, talk to them about what they're doing really well, what they might not be doing, instead of leaving them out there on their own, and the system itself being supportive of that. And again, many districts do a great job of the mentoring part, but the system itself having that embedded in there.
Well, I just think, if I may, Mr. Chairman, chase the rabbit just a little bit, that I wish on your part, on DOE, looking back, could look at teachers who are falling within these 3 categories, or will be 2 now, where they're coming from, what's being taught, what needs to be strengthened, or you guys demanding it through PSC at these different schools that creates a successful teacher. Because I think I just have in the back of my mind or in my heart that there's some lacking training that sets teachers up. They're not getting that, what they need, that foundation to be an effective teacher.
You're right. The more experience, the better on the front end.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I appreciate that input. And at this time, I'll leave a couple of minutes for the bill sponsor to share any final comments. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for comments from the audience as well. I didn't mention one thing. The DOE will issue a report every year to the House Education Committee, the Senate Education Committee, and the governor's office. So we'll be able to track this yearly to see if it's working. You need to pull the plug on it, or if we can actually come up with some solutions to help, take these new teachers, get them the help they need, get them where we can retain more of them. The turnover won't be nice. We won't have a 47% turnover the first 5 years. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, where we can develop these teachers into highly effective teachers. And that's all we're trying to do with this pilot program. And I appreciate the committee's support.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. I have a Chairman Dubnik. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, at the appropriate time, I'd like to be recognized for a motion.
All right. Just want to make sure, is there any other final comments from any other committee members? And do we have anybody on Zoom that has any other input? Okay. All right. You're recognized for that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Corbett, I appreciate what you're doing. And I'm, again, as I've said on many occasions, right now, I think that we need to find effective ways to both recruit and retain teachers and nurses. And those are my 2 hot button issues, and seeing both throughout Georgia and especially in my community. So, Mr. Chairman, I move that House Bill 1295 do pass.
We have a motion and we have a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Online, just make sure we have, okay. Any opposed? All right, this bill is passed and we will send it to full committee.
Thank you, Mr.
I
Chairman.
appreciate that very much. We will convene back here at 11 a.m. for full education committee and we stand adjourned. Thank you.